Debbie here from Craftywafty, and tonight I thought we'd do something a little bit different. We're going to make this lovely bespoke photo frame. Okay, so I'm just going to give it a couple of minutes just to see if anybody else is going to be joining us this evening. Just see if we've got anybody coming on board. Let's have a little look. See if I've got my comments coming up. There we go. Lovely. Okay, so tonight then, what I love about this little album, little photo frame, not album, where did I get that from? I don't know. I think it's because I've been thinking about other albums and stuff that I'm going to be making. I think it's just got stuck in the back of my mind there. But this photo frame is really lovely because you can, once you know how to make the basic size that will take a 4x6 photo, then you can upscale it or you can downscale it, whichever you want to do. That's totally up to you, but you can decorate it how you want as well. So this one I've decorated with a happy 18th birthday on it. I don't know if any of you saw my video a couple of weeks ago where I made something else using the same sort of paper range, and actually that makes quite a nice set together. But that was the version of the love book that I made, like the box with the little boxes and stuff inside, and then I made one to sort of match in with this, so as a nice gift set. I think that looks really lovely. But this is what we're going to make tonight. Now you can do this one of two ways. You could, if you've got a photo that you want to use for the frame, then obviously you can decorate it to that photo. But if you're giving it as a gift, then what we'll need to do is just leave a tiny little gap here at the top where the person who you're giving the gift to can sort of slide their photo in. All right, but I'm going to talk you through how to do this. Okay, so let's start with our measurements. Okay, now first of all we need 2 pieces of construction card. This is mount ball card I'm using, 6 by 8 inches. Okay, now if you don't have any construction card or mount ball card, cereal boxes will do just as well. You'll just need to glue them up to make them a little bit on the thicker side. Okay, so great idea this for like a Mother's Day gift. If you want to do something quite sort of cheap, then you can sort of, you know, get the kids involved and you could be making one of these. So I think that would be really lovely. Okay, now when it comes to making our photo frame, we need to make sure that the card has got a little bit of stiffness to it, but obviously when we join these two together, that is going to firm it up quite nicely. So if you are going to use a cereal box, I reckon 2 layers to make one piece and then 2 for the other piece, and then that should be nice and sturdy enough for you. Okay, now so 2 6 by 8 inch. Okay, now on one piece you're just going to leave it blank because this is the bit that's going to be used for the back of the photo frame, but the other piece is that we're going to need to cut the hole out to put your 4x6 photo. Now I've got here 4x6 by 1 piece of paper, which just gives me a rough guide as to the opening that I'm going to need to cut out, because what I want is I want the photo to slip in, but obviously I don't want it to fall out anyway. So the idea is that what I've done here is I've gone round the very edge of the card and I've just measured in 1 1/4 inches, and I've literally just drawn that ruler around, and that's now given me the bit that I'm going to cut out. And then the photo will, as you can see, I don't know if you can see just through that paper, you can see where that hole is going to be, because you can see where the line is that I've drawn. So that will fix and hold that photo really lovely in there. Okay, now you're probably wondering what else I've done to this. Now because this is mount board, because it's white, I wanted to colour in the black trim going all the way round, and I've done it on the edge as well, so that when we join the two together you don't see any of the white as we go round. Okay, and if I show you that on the photo frame, you can see here we've got a nice black edge. It goes all the way around. It just gives it a really nice finish to that. Okay, so that's what you're going to need first then. 2 pieces at 6 by 8 inch. Okay, so I'm just going to pop that there for a minute. The other pieces that you're going to need, this is going to be, so that's for the main frame part, is to make the little stand at the back. Okay, you're going to need 2 of these pieces, 5 inch by 1.5 inches. Okay, so you're going to need 2 of those. Then you're going to need 2 of these. These are 3.5 inch by 1 inch. So I'm just putting these here for the moment. Okay, then you're going to need 2 pieces at 3.5 inch by 3 3/4 inches. And then the final piece that you're going to need is 2 pieces at 3.5 inch by 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so I'm just going to let you have a little look at those, just so that if you're jotting this down as we go along, you can sort of have a little look. Okay, now with the photo frame, the best thing to do is to also consider what you're going to decorate it with. Okay, because as we start to construct it, you'll need to have all your papers and everything ready. So just to do in the back of the frame, you will need to cut out paper, your pattern card or paper stock, exactly the same sizes all the way along. So you can see here I've got the 5 inch by 1.5 inch, and then I come down to the 3.5 by 1 inch, then I've got the 3.5 by 3/4 of an inch, and then I've got the 3.5 by 3/8 of an inch, and I've already pre-cut those ready, because when we come to assembly it, you need to have those bits to hand, so that's something you can go ahead and do. Okay, and then obviously for the album, for the frame itself, you're going to need 2 pieces of card pattern paper, 6 by 8 inch. Okay, so I've gone with 2 different patterns on here, because one's going to be the front, one's going to be the back, and this one is what's going to be my front piece. And as you can see here, exactly how we would cut out the aperture for the photo on the frame from the construction board, again I've gone round at 1.25 inches all the way round and drawn that line in, and that's where I'm going to cut that out as well. Now, so everything that we've got here is pretty much, you can probably find around the house if you're making it like with cereal boxes or in your craft stash and stuff like that. The one other difference that I've made with this one is that I have a little bit of acetate, which is what I've got inside the frame there, just to protect the photo. Now, I couldn't really write on here, so I thought I would just say that I would crack on and measure that. Now, who have we got come up and said hello, good evening? Let's have a little look. Hi, Pippa, good evening. She says, thought I'd say hello. A bit rude to just sit here and watch you. No, do you know what? That's absolutely lovely. Thank you so much for saying hi. And you actually made it at the beginning this time, which is great. So I know the last couple of times you've missed the beginning, so but that's really lovely of you to sort of come on and join us. So thank you for that. Okay, so as I was saying, acetate then. We've got this, I've cut at 5 inches by 7 inches. Okay, and that will go over the aperture when we cut that out quite nicely, minus the cat fur. I will need to give that a little wipe before I fix this. Mickey does like to jump up onto my workstation when I'm busy, and the problem is that I love him dearly, but sometimes he just gets right in the way, and then you've just got no chance of dealing with any of this. But yes, so I'm going to have to give that a little wipe. But yeah, so I've got acetate, but you don't need it if you don't want to. It's up to you, but it's there. And I thought we'd just sort of pop that on so that everybody can see what I'm doing with that. All right, so they're all our measurements, all our cards and pieces that we're going to need to put this together. Okay, so this shouldn't really take too long this evening. I say that every time and then I get carried away with the decorating bit and I'm a nightmare. I know I'm a nightmare, but there we go. But we'll go through, we'll do the basics, and then obviously if you then, once you've seen me assemble it, it's up to you then if you want to stay with me for the rest of it as I'm finishing off. Okay, so let's make a start with our main part of the frame. So as I said, 2 pieces 6 by 8 inch. One piece I've drawn all the way around here, 1/4 inch all the way around, drawn my lines on there. So that's the first bit I'm going to do. I'm going to cut this out. So let's just crack on with this then. Here we go. And just going to line that up using my lovely Omni grids again, or my quilting rulers. They're really quite handy. Now the fact that I've drawn the lines on here already, I can see exactly where I need to cut. So I'm just going to drag that down and just take that over a couple times like so. There we go. I'm going to turn that round and we're just going to do that on all 4 sides. And actually once I've cut this out I can show you what I did with the pen going round, because we'll do that on the inside as well, so you won't miss out on that bit. Where are we? Let's just line that up a little bit. So today, what was today? World Book Day. We did it at work yesterday. Somebody got the date wrong, so we all dressed up yesterday and went in in our outfits. In case I haven't said before, I work at a college. Oh no, I've cut that too far then. Look, see, too busy yakking, not concentrating on what I'm doing. Let's go back in here. There we are. 1¼ inches. Okay. Yeah, so we had a group of our tutors that all decided to get dressed up as Where's Wally, which was really quite funny, because you go into the tutor room and then somebody would shout, "Where's Wally?" and they'd all run away and hide, which was just really quite amusing. And I didn't go as a Where's Wally. I went as a golden ticket from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, a good friend of mine. Well, there's a story behind this. One of the ladies was going as Mary Poppins, and I thought, great, because I have a thing for penguins, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go as a penguin. Well, I ordered the outfit and it arrived, and I'll be honest, it was not a pretty sight. I could only get halfway into this outfit. It just wasn't going to happen. So when I was chatting to my friend, and I said, "Oh, what am I going to do? It's like tomorrow and I've got no outfit." And she said, funny enough, she said, "I've been sorting out my daughter's room and I've come across this costume that she had when she was sort of at school." And I went, "Okay." I said, "What is it?" And when she showed me, I went, "That's perfect." And it literally was a golden ticket. So I went dressed as a golden ticket. I might later pop the photo up so you can just see what I look like. Oh my life. Anyway, so everybody was quite impressed, and I have to say that, you know, people did think that I'd actually made it, and I couldn't say no, I had made it. I didn't. I just, you know, but the idea was brilliant. So that's what I went as for our lovely World Book Day. Right, okay, let's just see if these are going to pop out now that I've cut those. Take that last little bit out. Okay, how are we doing? That's not too bad. Right, let's just move that out the way. So now I've cut that out, Okay, so there's my 4x6 photo, you see, so that will just sit nicely over that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and with my chisel Sharpie pen, and I'm going to just run along that line because I want to blacken that edge so that when you put the paper on and everything, you can't see the construction board or the mount board, whatever you're going to be using. Okay, let's just, you can see how I'm doing this. Oh, I've got pen all over my fingers already. Right, let's just tuck that into that corner. There we go. All right, and then what I do is I then run this along that edge as well. Just tuck that. And I do this on both sides just to make doubly sure that I've got no white showing through. There we go. I think this pen is beginning to run out a little bit. Hopefully we'll have enough just to, it's just really to cover that edge of the white card. And that, let's just tuck that in that corner just a little bit more. There we go, that's better. Like so. Just to give it a neater, professional finish. There we are. All right, we're just going to flip this over. And we're going to run down the other side. Okay. I think I might have to get my other pen out when we come to do the next bit. Right, we'll just block that all in. Okay. Like so. And the last side. Okay, let's see, so we've got quite a good coverage of that. I'm just making sure we've got it covered right in the corners. Right, so it just gives it that nice extra finish to it. Plus, if you happen to cut it out a little bit squiffy, it covers a multitude of sins, and that's what we like. We like a fix-it. Okay. Now, as I said, so the photo will, you can see where that comes in and that goes over like that, so that's fine. Now, the acetate, this I'm going to use on the outside, so I'm just going to write on here, just in pencil, because it's going to get covered. That's going to be the outside, because that edging is far better. And then I'm going to turn this over, and I'm actually going to put the acetate on already, and then that's one less thing to worry about, because when we come to gluing everything down. So I've just literally put some 12mm red liner tape all the way around that edge, so we're going to take that off. Now you can use this photo frame for absolutely anything. I mean, we've got Mother's Day coming up, so you can make a really lovely photo frame for that. Perhaps if you've been on holiday, got really lovely photos of your holiday, and sort of find some nice papers to sort of complement that, you can do that. Okay, so here we go, and I'm literally just going to stick that down on that edge like so. There we are. Okay, see, so there's the outside. I've got the acetate in there already, and then obviously when the back piece goes on onto that, that's going to sort of tidy that all up, so that would look fab. Okay, let's put that to one side for a minute, because we can come back and do all the decorating bits in a moment. I need to talk the stand. Now let me just show you the stand in a bit more detail. So it's like you've got like little triangle pieces, and then you've got like 3 little bars. It almost looks like a little ladder, or perhaps a display sort of case, if you see what I mean. And I've cut it in a way that it gives me that angle that it stands up quite upright. Okay, and that's why I've done the measurements like I have, but I wanted it nice and wide, so it made it quite sturdy on there. So let's just turn that around. Now let's deal with the big pieces first, because this is the important bit, and especially when you come to cut this. Okay, so I'm just going to take these off. So this is a piece 5 inches by 1.5 inches, and you can see I've already cut to there, but it's the way that you do the diagonals. So if you imagine you've got 2 pieces cut the same, you need to do one diagonal going from one side to the other, so going from left top to right bottom, and then on the other one it will be right top to left bottom. They have to be opposite, and the reason why is when we come to cut the papers, and especially if you are using directional paper as well, it's going to make a difference. Okay, so this one you can see I've already cut, and I've just gone round and covered that with my Sharpie pen. So I'm just going to put that there. I'm just going to cut this one. You see, because if I turn, now you're thinking, oh yes, but if you turn it around the other way, if I turn it around the other way, you can see the angle is still different. Okay, and if it makes it easier for you to remember, is almost do it so you're cutting those 2 pieces into a V shape. Okay, that's the way that you want it to go. All right, now I'm just going to cut this across, and I'm doing it from corner to corner like so. Here we go. Now obviously if you're doing this with children, you know, they're making a nice frame, you know, obviously just be a bit careful, especially when they come to these fine corner parts here, because obviously they might cut themselves. Right, I'm just going to grab another Sharpie. It's always good to have a spare Sharpie on the go. Here we are. Oh, right, I think I need to make that other one redundant. Okay, right, so I'm just going to come along, and I'm going to go around the edge like so. This is much better. Look at that, it's got much better coverage on that one. And then I'm going to flip that on the other side. Here we go. Go right up into that point. I'm going to come down the other side. So I'm going to do the same on this one. Here we are. Now this week was pancake week. Did anybody have any pancakes? I did. I went to see my sister, and we had a couple of pancakes. I had my favourite topping, sugar and lemon. What did you have? Did anybody have pancakes this week? It's a lovely bit of sugar and lemon. Do like that in my pancakes. Right, let's pop that on there. Come across that one. Okay, that's both sides. And now I'm just literally going to go around that edge again, just to cover up that white bit of board. And get right into that point and come round. Now I do, some of this is obviously going to get stuck to the back of the frame, but I just like to go around and give it a really nice coat as well. It just helps protect it a little bit. Okay, I'll just go around and do that last bit. There we go, come up with that, tuck that in, and then our final bit on this side. Here we go. There we are. Right, okay, so now we've done that, I'm going to get some glue. I'm using my lovely bookbinding glue. Okay, now just to show you, because I've cut it that way, when we stick these together, they will stick together like so. and like so. So once these are glued, what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop these under my mat just to sort of hold them down, just to help them seal a little bit, but plenty of glue. So, and this just gives it that double strength. Now if you've got some really thick card that you're using, then obviously you wouldn't need to do 2 pieces. I think this I'm using at the moment, I think is about 1,000 GSM, so by the time I finish putting this together, that's going to be about 2,000, which is going to be really nice and strong. And we're just going to glue this one like so. Okay, and then I'm just going to pop that on there, give that a little wiggle, line that up. There we are. Just going to hold that into position. I'm just going to pop that under my mat just to keep that while we're working. And then what we can do is just come along, and I've done exactly the same on the other pieces. So just to recap, 3.5 inches by 1 inch. So you can see I've already gone around some of it. So I'm just going to go around that top edge. I just left it so I didn't go over the cutting instructions. So we've got 2 of these. So we're just going to go around, and then we're going to glue these together, and then we're just going to do the same with all the other pieces. Here we are, and pop that along there. So make sure we've got all our no white showing, and then we're just going to do the same. The other next size down, or the next step down, is 3.5 by 3/4 of an inch. Here we go. Just going to zoom along there. There we go. Don't think I've got any white showing on that bit. That's 2, and then the final little bit. Okay. And actually it's 3.5 by 3/8 of an inch. So we'll just move that along there. There we go. And that's just going to cover, which is quite handy, because when we come to put our pattern paper on it, if we haven't cut it quite right, then it's not going to show up. Okay. And then we're just going to glue these together and pop these underneath our mat. And then once we've done that, then we can come back to our photo frame and start looking at our decoration and putting it together. So I'm just going to make sure that those edges are nice and level together. I'll tuck that under my mat, so it doesn't take too long. There we go. I'll just put on the next step. So we want that nice good seal there. There we are. Okay, just pop that underneath the mat. It looks a bit weird round the side of the mat. Everybody's like looking at it. So hi Susanna, welcome to Craftywafty. Just sticking these bits on now, just to let you know that this video will be going up on our Facebook page, and I will be getting these all over onto our YouTube channel as well. I don't know if any of you heard from last week. Facebook have now decided that they're going to delete any live videos after 30 days. So I do sort of keep all my videos, and they will also pop over to the YouTube channel. So I'm just going to pop those out of the way. Oh, Pippa, you had pancakes as well. What is that? Sugar and lemon as well? No, oh yeah, really delicious, aren't they? Absolutely love them. Do say hi and put where you're from as well. It'd be lovely to know where everybody's watching from while we're getting on with this. And we've got Anne as well. Welcome, Anne. Who else have we got watching tonight? So let's have a little look. Yeah, so do please, you know, pop a little message on. That'd be fantastic. If you've got any questions or anything as I'm going along, then do pop them on as well. Okay. And if you need me to go over anything, then I'm more than happy to do that. Right, so while my pieces of the stand are hiding underneath my mat, let's come back to our frame. Okay. So just to recap for those that joined us, 6x8, right, 2 pieces of construction board or mount board, or as I said earlier, serial. And then I drew a 1 1/4 inch edge all the way around, and I cut out the middle bit, and then I've just backed that with some acetate, which I think was 5 by 7 inches, just to go on the back of there. And then what we're going to do is that these will get stuck together, okay. And then I've got my cardstock, so I'm just going to put them out to here. Now I've already gone ahead and decided on what I'm going to be using. So I've got this really lovely flowery pattern here. This is going to go on the front of my frame, and again exactly the same size, 6x8, and I've done a 1 1/4 inch all the way around, and then the 6x8, which is going to go on the back. So I'm going to cut this out first. Let's just do this. Here we go. I just line that up. There we are. That's nice and square. And now that I've got the lines drawn on as well, I can hopefully get some really nice sharp corners as I come into that. There we are. And we'll just turn that round. And we'll cut that out. Okay, right. Okay, and here we go. We're just going to come along and do the other side. So yeah, as I was saying earlier, this is a lovely little photo frame to make. I've made a couple of these. I have a very good friend who's into sunflowers, big time, anything sunflowery. So we were fortunate enough to go on holiday to Italy, and I got a lovely picture of us, and it just looked fantastic in the photo frame with lots of lovely sunflowers sort of decorating it. So this is what I love about this. You can dress it up as much or as little as you like. Okay, right. So there we are. Now I'm going to hang on to this piece as well, because I might use this to maybe cut out some bits or punch out some flowers and stuff. So don't throw your middles away. Now, with all my pieces of patterned card, I ink round. So I'm using my distress ink. So I'm just going to come along here. It's just to help cover up the white core of the paper. So we're just going along. I know I'm just using black soot, but depending on what colour paper you're using, obviously you can, you know, there's lots of lovely colours that you can sort of use to blend in. That's totally up to you. Here we go. I'll just come into that last corner. Just think it just gives it that nice little finished edge to it. I'll just pop that, it's back in my little pot. And I like to do a little bit of faux stitching. Now faux stitching, I know I have mentioned this before, but for my faux stitching, I just do these little dashes going all the way round. It looks like it's been stitched. So I'm just going to do that going round. But there are other patterns that you can do. So we'll just, this is where I have to breathe. Just a little bit as I go along here. So I'm just gonna do this. I just think it finishes off the paper. Just gives it a little extra detail. Now if you are worried about doing this freehand as I am, and I'll be honest, you know, when I first started doing this, I did use a ruler, and I'd go along and use a ruler, but for tonight I'm just going rogue, and I do have a tendency to do that. Those of you who've been watching me for a little while, you'll know what I am like, to go a little bit rogue. Here we go. I'm just going to turn that round, and then we're just going to come along like so. And if I do go a little bit wonky, I'm not going to worry too much. I think that's part of its charm. Shows that it's been handmade then. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me. Plus I can always cover it up with a little flower or a butterfly if it's really that bad. Okay, I'm just going to come down and do this final side on here. Okay, there we go. Like so. And I just think that finishes that off really nicely. What do you think? Yeah. Okay, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to start building the frame together. So that will go on there, and as you can see with the acetate as well, we'll need to give that a quick clean before I stick the two pieces together. But where I've edged it round in the black, I just think it gives it a really lovely professional finish, I suppose. You know, it just looks really, really nice. You haven't got any of the white showing from the construction card or mount board in there, so I think that's really quite nice. So I'm going to stick this on, and then we're going to let this dry, and we're going to come back to our pieces of the stand before we stick these bits together. Make sure we get that nice and in the corners. Here we are. Okay, just going to flip that over. I'm just going to lie that down, and because it's bookbinding glue that I use, it does go off quite quickly, so I'll just give that a little wiggle. Just going to give it a tap, make sure that that sits flat against the bottom, like so. Just come over on those edges, and there we go. And that is the front done already. Okay. Now the back, I'll just pop that to one side for a minute. The back is fairly straightforward. Literally, I'm just going to stick that straight on, like so. And you can see I've gone round and faux stitched around that already. So let's just put some glue on there. Now, if you wanted to make this bigger, this album, here I go again. I'm talking about albums again. Photo frame. Told you I've got albums on the brain tonight. It's because I've been thinking of some lovely new ideas of albums to make. We've got coming up. I've been asked to do a travel one and a baby one, and like an all first year baby album. So I'll definitely be doing those. So watch out for those coming soon. Right, okay, so we're just going to stick that on there. And again, I'm just going to tap that and make sure that that sits just flat against there. Give that a little smooth over. There we are. Okay, and I'm just going to put those to one side for a minute and let them dry, and then we're going to start putting this stuff together. Okay, how's everybody doing? Are you still keeping up with me? All right, here we go. It's a bit like a game of Jenga this now, and I've got to find all the pieces. There we are. Right. Okay. So what have we got? We have got our two struts. Okay, these are the two main parts of the stand, and then you're going to have these like little mini shelves coming across. Now, before we put this together, we need to stick the paper on, or our patterned paper on. Now, we'll do the smaller ones first because they're fairly straightforward. And as I said earlier, these are obviously exactly the same size as the pieces that I cut. Okay, so they will literally just sit on top of there. And just to recap for everybody, that was 3.5 inches by 3/8 of an inch. So we're just going to glue these up. Okay. Okay, hold on just one moment. Okay, right. Now it's probably going to be easier to put it on the paper. It doesn't really matter which way around, but I'm going to put it on the paper and then stick the paper to the board, she says. Okay, let's just pop you on there. And again, I'm just going to make sure that that sits just nicely, like so. And this is a good opportunity as well, is just to flip it over and see if you can see any of the underside of the paper on the other side. If you've cut it slightly squiffy or a little bit bigger than what we should have done, then you can always trim it on the other side. All right, just a little tip. And I'll be honest, I have done that before, where I thought I've cut the paper exact and then I've been slightly out. So there we go, and we're just going to tuck that on there. And I have gone round and I have inked all around these and faux stitched as well. Okay, so that's the first bar, and then we're going to come up with the other. Right, the second bar was 3.5 inches by 3/4 of an inch. Okay, I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to pop that on there, like so. And again, I'm just going to flip that. And actually, I can't really, and plus also it just helps me level that out a little bit if I see any of that sticking over. No, that's fine. And then we're just going to stick the next side on. There we are. Okay, and I'll flip that over. So now you may notice that even though I have gone round and distress inked here, that actually if you look at the blackness of the construction board, you can actually see that there's still a little bit of the white cardstock showing. So what we may very well do is just run the Sharpie pen along that edge, but we'll do that in just a moment, just so we get that really nice clean look to it. Unless of course you like that look, in which case you don't have to do anything with it. Right, okay, and this one was 3.5 inches by 1 inch for these last bits of, there we go, let's just wiggle that a little bit, there we are. And we'll just put the last bit on. Okay. And then we're just going to let these dry for a minute while we do the other struts. Okay. Let's just pop that on. Here we go. Like so. So you can see how quite quickly this is coming together, and it just looks lovely, I think, once it's all done and finished, because everybody, you know, and when people say that when you say to people that you've made it, I think it just looks really even more impressive. So, oh, Amy, welcome Amy as well. Thank you for joining this evening. Just having a little look to see who's popping over, see what I'm up to. Okay, right, so there are 3 struts, 1, 2, 3, 3 different sizes, and we're just going to pop those there. Now, do you remember me saying about our construction board, the way that I cut the diagonal was to give it that sort of V shape? So this is where we have to be extra careful when we come to cut our patterned paper, especially if it's directional, okay? Because the way you cut it and the angle that you cut this will determine which side it's actually going to go on. Ask me how I know, because trust me, I've gone ahead and I've cut it exactly the same way and then realised that it's not going to work, that the angles or the side of the panel there it should be going on, I've cut it wrong. Now on the side here we've got 2 blank ones, because obviously that's the side I'm going to use. I'm going to turn that over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw that V shape I was talking about. Okay, so we're just going to come from that corner to that corner. And where's my pen? Here we are. Okay, just to show, and I'm going to do this in pen just to show you. Okay, so I've cut it that way, and then this one I'm going to draw this way, so we'll cut it this way. just lining up those corners. Okay, all right, so that's how we should have our pieces together. Okay, so the pattern's on the other side, turn that over, and then you've got them cutting so you get that V shape between the two pieces, so that when we come to stick these on, if I show you, so that will be on that side, and then if I flip that over, then it's going to work on the other side. All right, there is a method to my madness. Okay. All right, so let's just, okay, I'm just going to say fingers crossed for this, because I did this the other day and it worked perfectly, and I know, and I've made this time and time again, you can just guarantee that it's not gonna work, but it will. I have faith, honest to goodness I do. Hi Sandra, welcome. Right, let's come across there. Okay, this is my V shape. Right, and we're just going to, oops, move that over. Where are we? There we are. We're just going to come along there. Ah, okay, don't panic. I've ripped that bit at the top. Not a problem. I'm going to cut that off, and I can glue that little bit on when we come to do that. I'll just put that somewhere safe, that little bit. Okay, so just bring these bits back. That was the V shape. Okay, there's the V coming down that way. Here we go. So this is where we start putting the bits together. So that will go on that side. Okay, and then if I turn that one over, that one will go on that side. All right, and then this one will go on that side, and this one will go on that side. Yay! Okay, I know, I'm sorry. It's the little things that please me. Right. Oh, thank goodness for that. So it worked. So you can see what I did there. I took the two bottom ones and the two top ones and flipped them round for them to fit. And as I said, if you do it that way, especially if you're using directional paper, then it's going to work. Okay. Right, now the fun bit is we're going to ink round these, because I haven't done that already, because obviously I haven't cut them. So let's just go around and ink these. A little bit of distress ink. I love this sound. If you are a true crafter, you know that if you heard this sound, exactly what somebody is doing. And we're just going to come along. So here we are. Okay, just put those two bits there, and then we're just going to come and do the same. So as I say, so whereabouts is everybody from then? We're Craftywafty, we're in Essex. I'm in a little town not far from Southend-on-Sea, and which has the longest pleasure pier in the world. So yes, I'm just on the sort of outskirts of Southend. So some days you can hear the seagulls. You know, if there's not too much extra noise going on, you can actually hear them. But do pop on the comments and let me know where you're from. That would be really lovely to see where everybody's coming from. Okay, now we've inked those, we're just literally going to come around and do a little bit of faux stitching. So I'm just going to, oops, it's moved me, brace it out the way. I'm just going to come along. You don't have to do the faux stitching bit, it's really up to you. I just like to do it. I just think it finishes it off, gives it a little extra detail, which I think is really quite lovely. And then I'm just going to come down the other side. And like I said again, if you're unsure about doing this freehand, then just get yourself a little ruler and follow that along, like so. So our ladies that have just joined us then, anybody have pancakes this week? Pippa's had pancakes this week. We was just talking about our favourite toppings. One was lemon and sugar. My niece had Nutella on hers, which I think did look rather yummy, but I do like to go with the traditional sugar and lemon. Don't know about anybody else. Right, okay, and we're just going to come along here. Now, obviously, you can spend a bit more time on yours. I'm just zooming through here because we need to get these bits done ready for gluing on before we glue the whole thing together. Now, I'm quite trying to decide really what sort of photo I'm going to put in here. I quite like the colours. It's sort of quite nice, sort of greens and flowery. Maybe a nice photo of maybe a walk in some gardens or something might look quite nice in here. But this is what I love about having this photo frame, because it's bespoke. You can make it and decorate it to fit the picture or the photo that you're putting in. Or if you've got somebody who is into a particular theme. I've got a friend who's a big Disney fan, and I made her one of these photo frames. But what I did was I put the two big Disney ears on the corners and decorated it in the black and the red for Mickey, and she absolutely loved it, and she's got one of her Disney photos in there. So you can decorate these however you wish. Here we go, we're just on the last little bit. That'll stop me from waffling on. Right, okay. Now we've got those bits done, we're just going to glue these on, and then we're going to put the frame together. Now, the glue that I use is, oops, frame bracelets come undone then. How did that happen? Let's click that back on, there we go. So I use bookbinding glue. Now, if you've not come across bookbinding glue before, it's fantastic. I love it, and it is so strong, and it's better than your PVA glue. And we sell bookbinding glue in our shop. But what it does is well, the difference between this glue and like your standard PVA glue is it has less water content in it, which means that you don't get that bubbling effect. I don't know if any of you've had issues with that, especially when you're sort of layering up papers and things like that. You get that slightly bubble effect if you use too much glue. You don't have to use a lot of this glue either. You can use it quite sparingly, and it just does the trick. Yeah, so it's great stuff. I absolutely love it. If you've not used it before, you know, and give it a go. Right, okay. Now here's that tip bit that I lost, but I think, to be honest, once I glue that on, I don't think you're going to notice too much of that. Right, okay, and then we're going to come down here and do the final side, and then we're going to start putting this together. Okay, there we are. Perfect. Right, now just moving on with the next bits. Hi Karen. Karen's joined us as well this evening, so you've decided not to phone me this evening then. I have to tell you, so Karen is part of Craftywafty, and often forgets that on a Thursday night I'm doing a live, and has had on occasions phoned me right smack bang in the middle of it. I'm sorry Karen, I'm sharing this, but it's just too funny not to, really. And so yeah, so it's nice that she's actually joined us this evening and not phoning me. Right, as you can see, what I'm doing here, I'm just running my Sharpie pen just along that edge of that paper. So let me just show you the difference of what that looks like. So here you can, even though I have sort of gone along and inked that, you can still see that black image, but here I've just gone along and inked it. But I've not done this either end because you're not going to see those, and to be honest, one of these sides will be glued down, but I'm just running along these because I'll pick the best side, so it just sort of covers that white edge even more then. Okay, and we'll just flip that on the other side. I suppose this is, and I'm really sorry, but this is me being a bit of a perfectionist, but there we go. Okay, and I'm just going to run along on this one as well, like so. I just think it finishes it off, gives it a really professional finish. Okay, and we'll come back along that side. All right, and then we're just going to run along on the outside. I don't need to do that bit because that bit's going to be glued, so I'm just going to come along the side and along the bottom there, just to give that a nice neat finish, because trust me, we can't do this once we've glued it together. So now's the time to do this if you're going to do this. Okay, like so. And then we're just going to do the bottom. There we are. Okay, right. Now I have gone with a contrast on the back here for my stand. Just looking at our original stand, you can see I've done it all the same colour paper, but I just wanted to show you that you can, you know, mix it and match it up. It doesn't have to be the same. All right. Now, this is where I suppose these grid mats come in handy, because as we start to put it together, I will use these grid mats as my lines so that I can work out roughly where I'm going to glue these. So I'm going to put myself here, the ruler at the bottom, so I can use this as my base, and I'm just going to hold that there for a minute just to give you an idea. So this will then be glued onto there, so I'm coming about 2 squares up for that one. And what I will do is I will do the bottom one first and the top one, and then I will slot that middle one in. So I know just by looking at that coming up by 2 of those squares on here, that is going to be about right to hold that at the bottom there. Okay, so we're going to glue part of this, and again, this is where the bookbinding glue comes in handy, because it is really quite strong stuff, and it will hold this in place. So I'm just going to put, as you can see, I've got a fair bit of glue on there. I'm going to hold that in place down there, and I'm just going to butt that up against there, and I'm just going to give that a couple of seconds to hold. Okay, like so. Now I should be able to let that go, and that should now, because it's got that sort of right angle, that should be able to hold that. And I'm just going to pop this one. Now I'm going to come down a little bit on this one. I'm going to, because what I don't want is it coming right up to that very edge. I'm going to bring it down a little bit. So I'm coming down 1, 2, 3, 4 sort of squares now. I'm going to tuck that one on there. Hi Jackie. Jackie's watching us as well. Jackie, you missed it earlier. I was telling them about the photo frame that I made for you, the one with the sunflowers on it, with our picture of us in Italy. Right, I'm just going to hold that. Okay, like so. And now the middle one, I can work out roughly where that's going to sit, and I think I'm going to stick that just in there. Right, let's just pop that more glue on there. Okay, and then I'm just going to hold that in place. So there we go. All right. I'm just going to let that stay for a couple of minutes. Now, while that is drying off, now obviously if you're doing this at home, you can leave it for a lot longer before you start moving it around. Okay, so I just wanted to sort of make you aware of that. Okay, oh, what's Jackie saying? Oh, you like this make? Thanks, Jackie. Right, okay, so now I'm just going to, I've still got a little bit of wiggle room in there. I'm going to let that dry for a minute. Now, this is the next tricky little bit. Now, for you at home, when you do this, you let that dry completely. Then you can turn it up on its back. You can dribble the glue on the top and then stick that side bit on. But you don't want to be sat here waiting for the glue to dry. So I'm just going to run some glue along this edge, like so. There we are. Gravity is trying to help a little bit. Okay. And because I've got my ruler sort of lined up on there, and I can now stick this on, and now I can start moving these bits just to straighten, and I can use the grid so I can see exactly where the lines are going. And that one's sort of fairly straight. That one needs to come up just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to just make sure that that is sitting straight on there. And although this glue does go off fairly quickly, there is just that little bit of space for wriggle if I need to. And I'm just going to hold that in gently just for a few seconds. Now, I'm not putting any pressure on this, because if I did, it's going to concertina it, and then it's just going to collapse on me. So I'm just holding it gently just for a few seconds, and then I'm going to move this to one side and let that dry off while we finish putting the actual frame bit on to go. So, oh, your pancake, you tried it with coconut or honey. Now there's the thing, I've never had that before. Coconut honey. Okay, right. Just move that just a fraction. Okay. Right, I'm going to move that out the way and just let that dry off a little bit. And to be honest, that is the trickiest bit that you need to do. So, whew, thank goodness for that, that's done. Right, let's get our next bit together then. So we've already put the acetate on the inside. We've decorated the outside of our album, here I go again, our photo frame. Honest to goodness, what am I like? And yeah, so at the moment you can see where I've got the 6x8x2. So I'm just going to, well, if I was going to put a photo in there straight away, I would do that, and I would stick that on. Otherwise, I would put some white card in there just to cover that up. I suppose I should have stuck it the other way around, if I'm honest, but if you're giving this as a gift, that won't matter, will it? Because you will already have your photo put in and that. So we're just going to, that was going to glue on there. So what I need to do is just give this a bit of a clean. So I've got some wet wipes and a bit of tissue, because I just want to remove the static as well. So I'm just cleaning the inside, because once we glue this together, that's it. Whatever sticks to this on the inside is going to show up on your photo. So we're just going to give that a good clean, and then we're just going to dry it like so. There we go. Now you can get, obviously, lots of different types of acetate, and I've actually got some acetate that looks like it's got snow on it, and that would make a really lovely overlay if you was putting a Christmas photo in here, for example. So don't just think, oh, I'm going to have to use plain acetate. You know, change it up a little bit, do something a little bit different. You know, it's all about experimenting, really, isn't it? Okay, so this is going to be fixed on to here. Now, because I'm building this together and I want it to hold, okay, especially if somebody's going to try and pop something in there, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to line this edge with some red liner tape. Okay, so I'm going to be using the 12mm red liner tape that we've got. We sell this in the shop. It is, right, which end am I going to use that as the top? Now it's going to be at the top. There we go. Yeah, so we sell this in the shop. You get a 50-metre roll. Can you believe it? 50 metres of this stuff all in one roll. It's just fabulous. And it lasts forever. Well, not ever, but you know what I mean. Okay, right, so I'm just going to literally run this along that very fine edge, and I'm going to leave this top here, okay, because that's going to be where the photo is going to slide into. So let's just move this along like so. Here we go. I'm just going to take that into there. So there we are. And then we'll come down for the last bit. Now, as I said earlier, if you are making this and you're putting a photo in it, then obviously you can just put the red liner tape all the way around, because then it will be sealed completely. And once you've done that, then that's it. Okay, but because I wanted this so that I could slide a photo into it, that's why I'm leaving the gap. So you can sort of see that. Hi, Cloney, welcome. Just making my lovely little photo frame. It's not an album, it's a frame. Right, okay, and then that is going to literally stick straight onto there. So if I just show you on the original one, you can see here that I've got quite a bit of a gap there, and I have tested it, and I can slide a photo into there. Okay, but again, if you're just sticking this down with a photo in there already, then just do the tape all the way round. Okay, now let's just take off the red liner tape. There we go. We're just going to peel this off. I'm going to come along and, oops, goodness me, there we are. Pull that one off. I'm trying not to put any fingers on that acetate after we've cleaned it. Okay, but what I will do is just run a little bit of glue on the red liner tape going around the edge, just so it gives me a little bit of wiggle room as I join the two together. Okay, you might have seen me do this before. It just gives that, because the red liner tape is very unforgiving. If it's going to stick to anything, it's going to stick to it fast. Okay, all right, so we're going to pop that on there, and I'm just going to line that up. Now let's just try and drop this down. That's it, and I can feel with my fingers that is sitting square across the bottom. It's come up in the corners, and there we are, and that is our frame bit to put together. Okay, and then that just leaves me that little gap in there that I can slide that photo into. Okay, all right, now because I've stuck that together, I could go around and do the black that I did before, so let's just do that, because now we've got the papers stuck on there. So I'm just gonna run that along just to finish covering up that edge. And we're going to come along here like so. Gently does it. Don't rush this bit, because if you slip, then you could take the pen across the front of your frame. So do take a little bit of time doing this, okay, if you're going to do that. And then I'm just going to come along the top. Just takes away that white edge of the, like so. Okay, right, and that is our frame bit done. So now we've just got to put the two together. Now, it's at this point, if you wanted to really decorate up your frame, you can either decorate it first if you really wanted to, but it depends on how you're going to decorate it. If you're going to put like 3D things on there, then obviously you need to decorate it after. But if you're just putting something flat on the front, then you can do that now if you want. But I want to do some 3D stuff and build some stuff out on the front, so I'm going to wait until after I've put the whole thing together. Okay, so now we just turn that over. We now get our little, it looks like a little ladder, doesn't it, really? And what we're going to do is we're going to run some glue all the way up on the inside and along these back struts, and then we're going to turn that over. So just, I'll show you which side we're going to glue. We're going to glue the side with the diagonal, not the straight side. Okay, so I'm just going to tip that over. Let's move that other frame out the way, and we're just going to run some glue all the way along, like so. I'm just being very gentle with this because obviously I've only just put this together, but like I said, if you've made this at home, if you're making this at home, you can let it dry a lot longer. Okay, I'm just going to come along and along there, and because we just want it to catch on the other paper. Okay, all right, so again I'm just going to move that to one side. I'm going to bring that down, and I'm just going to have my ruler there just to sort of hold that in place, because I can also see now, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here, because this is 8 inches in, I can work out roughly where the center is going to go. So if I put that on there, we're looking about coming in about 2 inches and 1/8 thereabouts. So that's how I need to turn it around, and that's how I need to line it up. So I'm going to turn that, and I'm bringing this right down to the very edge, like so. And I've just dropped that on there. Okay, and what I want to make sure is as well is just to let that, so that these ends here just touch to the bottom of that, and I'm just going to give that a gentle push, and then hopefully when we stand it up, I'm just going to stand it up for a minute until it sets, but you can see that it's got the angle that I want it for. So I'm just going to drop that down. I'm just going to press that gently. I don't want to force it because I don't want it to come away from the other sides, because obviously I've only really just glued this together. But I'm just going to hold that gently for a couple of seconds. Okay. All right. Okay. Right, let's just have a look. While I'm just holding this in place, let's have a little look on this one. Oh, thank you. Crony should do this on TikTok live also. Yes, absolutely. In fact, what I'll probably try and do is upload this video onto TikTok. I am just attempting, I'll be honest, I'm a bit late to the party when it comes to TikTok. And I have been sort of messing around a little bit and uploading some videos. So do pop over to TikTok on for Craftywafty. You can see some of the videos of some of the goodies that we sell, like some of the paper ranges and everything else. Okay, so now obviously you can see a little bit white glue there, but that will dry clear, so I won't need to worry about that. I'm just holding that for a second or two. Okay, all right, and if I just turn that up, there we go, and that is our basic photo frame. And it is then just a case of how we're going to decorate round the outside. Now, if I was going to do this for Mother's Day, I might have a little Mother's Day banner there. I might put some little flowers on there. You know, there's lots of lovely ideas of things that you can decorate. But that's how I make it. That's it all in one go, as it were, and then it is just the decorating. So if that's all you wanted to see was the photo frame made, then by all means go away and have yourself a cup of tea. All right, but if you want to see me finish it off completely, then do please sort of stay on, because that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to dig out some papers and I'm going to punch up some flowers, and then I'm just going to sort of decorate it with that. Okay, so I'm just going to let that rest for the minute. I'm going to leave that line flat there. Now, I have used, thank you, Pippa, that's lovely of you. Yes, you're not late, you're in perfect timing. Thank you for that. I am desperately trying to sort out all this social media stuff. You know, like I said, I'm a little late to the party. Now, just to let you know, this system that I've used to make the photo frame, I actually made some when we had, dare I mention it, lockdown, and I actually did make a phone holder, exactly the same sort of system. You can see I've got the frame on the back there. If you want instructions for this, they are on our shop, so do pop over, you can get those. All right, but I made exactly the same way to do that. So now I just need to get some of the lovely papers that I used for this, and I'm going to cut out some flowers and things like that, and we're just going to sort of decorate it up a bit. Okay, so because I quite like the colours on here, you've got some nice sort of yellows, there's some reds in there, you've got some of the blues. I'm going to see if I've got some of this, because I think some of these colours here, like using this patterned paper and the red that I've used on here, would look really nice if we punched them out with flowers. So bear with me for a minute. I'm just going to drag out the papers that I was using. There we go. So I like to have a stash. There's my stash. I'll just get the punches. Now, if you don't have lots of punches, then you can just use some really nice, like, you know, just cut out some flowers. Maybe use some, right, I'm just trying to grab hold of that. Right, here we are. I've got a selection of punches here. What I do try and do is use up my scraps for all sorts of things, and actually this is where it comes in handy for doing decorative bits like this. So I've got some punches here. We do sell some punches on the shop, but I'll be honest, these particular ones I've got, I know we don't currently have on the shop, but let's have a little look. So I've got some, so the yellow would go quite nice, because I'm just looking at the colours I've got here of what I'm going to do with the flowers. I've got a nice bit of green, so that'd be quite nice for the leaves. So I'll hang on to that. Now in my little stash here, I've actually got some really nice little word cards. That's a little bit big, but oh, look at that, family, forever, for always, no matter what. It's a little on the big side maybe, but again, I'll just sort of hang on to these things. Let's see what else I've got in here. Oh no, these are quite good fun. Look at this. So you didn't see anything. Shh, and I didn't do it. I could actually maybe cut out a couple of those, depending on what the photo is going to be, but that could be quite good fun. And I've actually got, this one has got some nice little squares, love and family. Happy, good, together, and we've got some other different ones on the back as well. So this is why I hang on to all these bits and pieces, because I like to use, we've got a little bit of peach there, and if you look, actually there is a little bit of peach in there as well. And we've got, what else have we got in my little stash? Right, okay, I've got some red, and I've got some blue. So it's good to have a little rummage. You see, sometimes I don't realise I've got half this stuff. This is where it all goes in my stash. I've got some cream there. And look, I've got some lovely little hearts there as well. So I've got some of these bits. So I'm just going to pull out a few bits, and then I'm just going to punch these up, and then we're going to do some nice little flowers and leaves and stuff on here. Okay, look, now I've got a couple of words there. Simply us, thankful, that's quite nice. So again, depending on what picture I'm going to put in there, would look great. And I've got some tiny other ones. Oh look, I love my family. Oh, okay. All right, so these are all the wordy things. So let's just put them to one side because I might utilise some of those. And here we go. What else have we got? No, I think that's it. I think I'm going to leave it as that for the minute, and we're going to cut everything out and have a little look. Who else have we got that's joined us? Let's have a little look for a minute. Oh, yes, Sean, thank you. Welcome. Welcome for joining us. And Fiona as well. Lovely of you to join us. Thank you so much. Please just put in the comments where you're from, because that would be really lovely to know where everybody's watching. Oh goodness me, I'm falling off my chair here. Right, this is an exciting bit. I mean, okay, we've made the frame, that's it, but now here comes the fun bit, because this is where we can start sort of decorating things and making things look really cool. And I'm going to use some of the green, because where's my colour palette? This is my colour palette of where I'm going with everything, and I've got some nice little ones here with the little leafies, so I might just punch out some of those. So we're just going to do a little pile of bits. So here we go. So what I might do is use the, I have to say, punches are really a cool way of, right, I'll just take that out, cool way of doing patterns of things really quickly, rather than sort of using die cuts. But these are ideal for this. And the thing is that if I'm using the same paper range for my decorating, I know that the colour palettes are going to work. Right, let's just trim that off. So we're going to need a few little leafies, so we'll just punch along a few of these, you see. There we go. There we go. There's a couple more. Now, whenever you're doing flowers, a little rule of thumb is that you should do them in odds. By all accounts, that's what I was told when I did a floristry course many moons ago. You should have odds, so 1s, 3s, 5s is what you should have on your just a sort of, it's all to do. I'm not quite sure why. I can't remember what the lady said now, thinking about it. I think it just helps balance it better, I suppose. Right, we'll just cut a few, just cut one more row out of those. Here we go. Oh, Jackie's from High Wycombe. What's the weather like up there? I hope you've had some good, we've had some lovely sunshine down here today. Still a bit cold, but oops, been leafed here. I've been attacked by leaves, so just, come on, over you go. There you are. Okay, right, and I think I'm going to leave that there for the minute. We may not need any more leaves, but who knows. Now, flowers. I want some smaller little ones. So the little white ones here, for example, I've got these two, which I think will look quite nice. So let's cut out punch out a couple of these. Oh, sunny. Yes, I'm sure it is in High Wycombe. It's really sunny. But we've had some sunshine here today. It's meant to be nice over the weekend, but getting a bit colder apparently. And if anybody's up, it's going to get that bad weather over the country. But right, let's punch that out. There we go. So we're just going to punch a few of these out. Okay. I'm just going to show you how quickly you can put something together like this. This is live. This is me just going for it now. Okay. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to decorate this, but right, let's have a little count up. See what we've got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let's do one more for the moment. 12. Okay. And then we've got some smaller ones of the red and the pink. So maybe we'll use this one, like so. I'm just going to punch up some of these. Oops. They're alive. They are alive. So we'll just punch these up quick. And then we can put these all together. That's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to go round the houses on this one. You've heard of flying saucers? We've got flying flowers. Oh my goodness. Right. Just doing a little selection. Okay. I think these are going to look rather sweet. There we go. I'll just punch along here. And we'll probably get another one in. There we are. Right, okay, that's given us those. So we've got, so we picked up like the white in there. We've picked up the, like, it's like a peachy colour, I think. Do you agree it's a peachy colour? I think so. And now the yellow is a little bit on the bigger side. So let's have a couple of bigger ones. Some of these punches I have had for a while, and some of them are a little bit hard to punch. So I apologise for the crunching noise that is probably about to happen. Because these are a bit on that. Oh, there we go. Right, okay. Probably not the best lined up here. 1, 2. Just trying to do these. There we go. Right, we've got 3 of those. Let's do another 2 if I can get another 2 out of here without. Like so. All right. So you can see what I'm doing. I'm just getting these all ready. I mean, I'll probably punch out more than I'm going to need, but to be honest, if I have, then I can always use them up for something else. Right, so we've got 3 of those. Now the blue ones are a slightly bigger size after these ones. So let's go with some bigger blue ones. So just going to, I think I might only be able to get one out of this. Oh, it's coral, if you want to be posh. Thank you, Jackie. I thought it was peach colour, the flowers, but yes, I suppose you could say it's coral, isn't it? Right, so that's 1. I think I'm going to get anything else out of that one for a minute. Let's try and turn it that way, see if I can see where I'm punching. There we go. Upside down, I can see it better. There we are. Right, and we've gone with 3 of those because they're quite biggish flowers. I'll get another one out of there. No, okay. And then I've got this one which has got a dotty blue, but I don't think that's going to work, so we'll put that to one side. And then I suppose the other colours that I've got is some red. So let's do a couple of big red ones just to, and these have got the little dots on, just to give us a bit of contrast. There we are. 1, 2, and we'll get another one out of here. Here we go. Okay. All right, so I'm just going to put them to one side for a minute. Obviously, if I need any more, then we'll punch out a few more. Okay. Now, with any of these, what I will do, I will, just with the bigger ones, just go around and give these a little hint of distress ink, just on the bigger ones. Obviously, I'm not going to do the smaller flowers, but just to sort of tone down that white edge a little bit that is showing on these bigger ones that I've just punched out, just to sort of give it a little bit of texture. And if you really are a big, huge lover of faux stitching, you could, if you had a couple of hours, go around and faux stitch all of these. But I'll be honest, I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to have the flowers like so. And you could, if you wanted to, put some detail in on the leaves. But for tonight, I'm not going to worry about that, because I think, you know, we would all like to get to bed at some point this evening. So, yeah, I'm not going to worry too much about that. But if you really wanted to, you could. And like I said, you know, when you're at home and you're making these up, you can spend as much time as you wish and decorating. Okay, all right, do I need to do the little yellow ones? No, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, so now we've got all the elements. We've got some leafies, we've got some little filler flowers, and I've got some different little colours going on here. I'm not going to worry about the centres at the moment, because what I'll probably do is put some lovely gems in the centres just to give it a little bit of sparkle. So this should now have sort of dried fairly strong, should be fairly strong now. Right, okay, so I just want to have a little look at these words that I've found, just to see what's going to work best. Now, if I was doing I love my family, we could have that in there. I quite like, because we're going with flowers, I quite like the fact that this has got a nice little flowery thing going on. And that might look quite nice. You see, look, that's a nice one, you and me. And actually, rather than stick it on with a square, I might just cut round that, because I think that would look, I don't know if you can see, let me just move that up. I think that would look quite nice, so you and me. And then maybe, see, the blue doesn't really go on that, and the shush, so I don't think I'll use those. But I think, you know, just a little something like that. It doesn't have to be massive. It can just be a tiny little thing like that, and I think that will work. So let's go with that one. And you've got a nice couple ones here as well, because we've got Thankful and Simply Us. I quite like the Simply Us, so I might balance it a little bit. Maybe the Simply Us up the top there with the you and me. I don't know, but once we start getting that put together, so let's just move the frame out the way for a minute. So I'm just going to cut round this. I'm not going to be too particular. I'm just going to zoom around this, but obviously, you know, just have a look in your stash and see what you've got. I mean, if you've got alphabets and stuff like that, you could, you know, if you're putting a picture of somebody in there, you could actually spell out alphabet with their name on it. You know, that would be quite nice and very personalised. So just sort of going round with these. Let's just see how we're going. Here we are. And then I'm literally just going to put this all together. Here we are. Almost done. I'll just go around this last little bit. So I think it looks quite sweet, because it does look like a little flower. So I think that would look quite nice. And sort of blend in a little bit with it all. So, but obviously you will be governed by whatever papers you're using. It's like this one, because this has got like all the lipsticks and things like that. Thankfully I had some stamps and stuff that I could sort of punch out some lips and a lipstick and that. So, you know, just have a look around. But you can, there's loads of like little embellishments and things that you can buy already if you haven't got things like this. You know, if you haven't got the punches and stuff like that, you know, you don't want to spend that sort of money. You can just do that. Now I'm just going to damp down that edge a little bit, like so. Here we go. All right, jury's out on this. I'm going to wait and see what I think. when I've done that. Right, okay, so let's pop you there. Now, before I start to stick anything on, I normally like to arrange it, but because this is on a slant, I'm going to need to just bring it up a little bit. So let's use that so I can just level it off a little bit. And now, let's move you out the way. Just pull that over there a little bit, and I'm just going to rest some of these. So I've got one there. Now, it depends really how you want to do this. I mean, on the original photo frame I've done corner to corner, but you could do opposites if you want. I think we might perhaps do a little opposites on this one just to change it up a little bit. Now we're doing 3s, so I've got 2 there maybe, and I might do a 2 there. I'm just sort of messing around a little bit, trying some different, might come along a little bit with a couple of the little yellow ones, like so. Right, I was just saying sort of 3s, didn't I? So we could tuck that yellow one there. So I need to punch out another little yellow one. Didn't do enough on there. There we go. Let's just punch out. Oops. Oh, or maybe not. Won't let me punch that. Where are we? I thought I had some other yellow bits somewhere else. There we go. Let's just punch this out. Oh my goodness. I'm having a little trouble trying to punch this now. That's better. Okay. So we might tuck that one in. So we've got yellows maybe tuck that little one. So it's up to you how you do this. I'm just sort of almost thinking like a triangular sort of shape is what I'm going with these, just to sort of build that up. And then you've got a couple of these other little ones that can sort of come out a little bit, and then the pink ones, and then we sort of start filling in, and then we can tuck the little leaves in. So what we are going to need is a pair of tweezers. Okay, now before I stick any of these down, these are quite flat at the moment, so what I want to do is I just want to give them a little curl, and I'm just curling them with my fingers here just to give them a little bit of shape. See, so already you can see the difference, how that is now just brought that to life a little bit. And we're just gonna literally just use my nail just to curl that, just to give it a bit of oomph. Plus also it makes it a little easier to pick them up, if I'm honest. Okay, and we're just going to curl these ones like so. That's it, 1, 2, 3. There we go. Like so. Whoops, there we are. And then we're just going to curl these other ones. So we're going to do one corner first, and then we'll come over and do the other corner. Oops, I've pulled that one off. Okay, I was a little bit heavy-handed with that one. Oops. This is why we have lots of scraps, people. I'm just saying. That's because I'm trying to get it all done. Right, let's punch one of those out. Okay. Gently does it, Deb. There we go. That's a little bit better. It's been a little bit heavy-handed. Okay, let's put those little tiny ones off for the minute. Now, I'm just going to literally stick these down with a bit of bookbinding glue. Okay, and I'm just going to put a little dollop on the back of these. Now, I think what we'll do is I'm going to put the little yellow one right in that corner first. Let's put a little dollop. Just put a tiny little bit on there. Then I'm going to come in with this opposite on here, just so that comes in over that edge a little bit. Don't be afraid to come over the actual photo bit itself, because it just gives it a little bit more character to it. Just put a little bit on there. I'm just going to tuck that one in there. And I'm not overly worried that I've got gaps at the moment, because I'm going to fill those with the leaves and the other little smaller flowers. We're just putting in the basic bigger flowers for the minute. So that will come in there, and then I'm just going to put that one in down there like so. Okay, and that is that side done, and then we're just going to do exactly the same on the other side. It's been a little bit gentler, Deb. It's getting a little bit heavy-handed. Right, let's just curl these round, because obviously flowers in the wild aren't as flat as pancakes like these are, so we want to give it a little bit of definition. Okay, like so. Just curl those round a little bit. You can see how quickly this is all coming together, really. I think it's really rather, I just love the whole effect that it has once it's been done. Right, okay. Right, so we'll just glue this little one on the corner. Just going to tuck that in there. Now, because this is on the bottom here, I don't want to come right to the bottom, so because obviously it's got to be able to sit up flat, so I'm just going to take that up just a little bit, but it's fine to go over the top up there. All right, and the opposite to that we had was that one, so I'm going to come in on that corner there. Let's twist that a little bit so you get to see the petal definition, and just pop this one here. Again, I'm just making sure that I'm not coming right off that bottom bit there. Okay, and I'll bring that one up just a little bit, but again I can come slightly off over the side here. And I'm just going to put that one there for the minute, and this one on here. That one, it's not got a lot of curl on that one. Let's just, perhaps I missed that one. Let's just give that a little bit more. Okay, here we are. Tap a little bit of glue on there. Okay. Right, so that is the basics. Okay, and now it's just a case of filling in. Now, one thing you can do if you wanted to on your flowers before we put the edges on is, if you wanted to give it a little bit of definition, you could just put like trying to do this without resting on it, just do like a little bit of that, but to be honest I'm not going to worry about that, but if you wanted to you can do that just to give it a little bit of something extra. Right, so now these have stuck, I can pull these up just a little bit, because now we're going to tuck in some of these smaller ones and some of the leaves. Okay, now because these are quite, I want these to be curled up quite nicely, and these will tuck in. How are we doing for time? Well, we're not doing too badly. We'll get most of this done, and that's okay. Right, so we've got 3 of those, and we'll have a couple of these. 1, 2, 3. Let's do 5 of each actually, because we'll probably just slot these in like so. I just love how it's all coming together really nicely. Thank you, Chloe. It is very calming, isn't it? I love it, the crafting. You know, it is quite therapeutic. So it's good. It's good too. And the thing is that, as I've said before, you know, you could do this with the children, you know, and then you can just sort of, you know, relax with it all, and yeah, it'd be great. Right, okay. So a little bit of glue. Now, obviously, to put glue on the back of these is going to be a little bit fiddly. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on there, and I'm just going to do a dip and dunk. Here we go. Right, so I'm going to pick one up. I'm going to dip it in the glue, and I'm just going to tuck it in. A little bit of glue. We don't need loads, but we're just gonna enough just to catch that bottom bit. I'm gonna tuck one in there. Okay, this is why tweezers are such a good idea. Right, we'll come down with a little coral one, as Jackie said. We will go with that colour, coral. I'm going to tuck that one in under, and don't worry about if you're tucking it over the top of the other the other petals, okay, because they're not meant to be all the same sort of flatness, as it were. All right, and we'll tuck that one in there. So I've got 3 and 3 on there for the minute. And then the leaves, I'm just going to dab in there, and then I can just tuck that in underneath. Here we go. So next bit, just a little bit of glue. We're going to tuck a little leaf in there. And you can bend these leaves up a little bit, or curl them, or even give them a little twist, because again, leaves aren't flat like this. All right, I'm going to tuck another little leafy in there. So now you can see how it's starting to build up. I absolutely love it. Okay, and I'm just going to tuck, whoops, dropped that one. Right, okay, we'll tuck that one in under there. Okay, and then I might use another one of these little flowers, because I don't want it, I want it to sort of almost look like it's coming along the top a little bit, like so. And we'll just have another little one there, and then we're going to put another little leafies in there. Go. I'm going to tuck that in underneath, like so. And then coming down here, I've got another little leafy. Let's just pop those on. And there we go. I'm just going to dip that in there. I'm just going to turn that around a bit, because I'm getting to the angle now where I need to be able to come in at a different angle. That's it. And I'll just put this one in here. Here we are. How are we doing for glue? We've got enough glue on there. Right, I'm going to tuck that one in there. Okay. I mean, obviously I can probably go back and add some more to it later, but I've just given you a bit of an idea as to what you can do. Just put a little bit more glue on there. I'm just going to tuck another leaf in here, like so. Right, okay, we're going to tuck one in underneath that one. Okay, so how many flowers? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 flowers there. I might put a little rogue one coming down, because they don't all have to be in there. I could just look, I could just have an odd one, so it looks like it's sort of floating down the edge of the photo frame, that it's sort of fallen away from the rest of the flowers. Let's just curl that up a little bit. So let's just stick that, there we go. It's gone a little flat, but I can lift that up a little bit, and then we can just tuck a couple more little leafies underneath like so. There we go, and one more. And then I suppose it's a bit like a rinse and repeat on the other side. I'm just going to tuck that in and tuck another little one in under there. And there we are. Now the you and me, I'm thinking would look quite nice in that corner, so it looks like those flowers are sort of tumbling down, and actually I want to raise that a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some like foam dots. Now we all buy loads of foam dots and stuff like that, and because when you pushed out the foam dots you're left with this bit, but I use this bit, I'm going to cut it and I'm going to stick that on the back because I do try not to waste anything. So and it will do the job just as well. So I'm just going to peel that off, and I might need to trim that down on those corners just a little bit. There we go, just so that fits on there, but it will give it a nice even sticky point to it. And I'm just going to peel that off like so. So we do lots of sticky pads and that in the shop as well, so pop along, craftywafty.co.uk. Okay, and oops, that's stuck to my finger. Right, okay, and I'm going to just tuck that in on there. Again, not coming right to the bottom, but I'm going to bring it over just a little bit, so it looks like those flowers are just coming down and tumbling behind it like so, but it's still left as nice and clear at the bottom. Okay, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to get some little gems to go in here, because what I want to do is just show you one corner, and then obviously we can hopefully get the rest of it done before it's time. What was that? Use your little pinky tip. Yes, absolutely, Cloney. Right, let's get some gem stickers. Okay, we do quite a few lovely gem stickers on our shop as well, so do go and have a little look. Now I've got two different sizes here. I've got some really tiny ones and I've got some slightly bigger ones, so I think we'll go with some of these. And this is what's just going to help lift it a little bit now. So I'm just going to take off. I always use tweezers for this bit because it does get a little bit fiddly, and these these gems do have a tendency to, right, okay, let's tuck that, oh look at that, tuck that one in just underneath that. I meant to stick to that, not to me, thank you. Okay, right, so apologies for my head getting in the way there. Right, okay, now we're going to put these tiny little ones in the middle of the little flowers. I'm just using the clear sparkly ones, but if you had coloured ones you could put coloured ones in if you wanted. Okay, and you can see already how it's just lifting this completely. Okay, let's just stick that down. And another little one in there. I'm trying not to force it. Thank you, Pippa. Yes, by all means, do go and make one of these. They're just such a lovely little idea, aren't they? I just absolutely love them. And like I said before, you can make it and decorate it however you wish. I just think it's a nice little gift for somebody, or it doesn't have to be a gift for somebody, you could make it for yourself. Okay, and we're just gonna pop that one on. I'm trying not to push too much down on the frame underneath, because you know I might still just need a little bit more curing time, but you get the idea. So they're all the little, whoops, they're all the little ones. And then we're just going to go for some biggish ones. I might just have a little rummage in my stash, see what else I've got in here. So got some slightly different coloured ones. Oh no, they're a little bit. I don't think they're right, are they really? No, I think we'll stick with the sparkly gems, to be fair. But we do these on our shop. They've got some nice different sizes in there as well. So yeah, do have a little look see. Right, okay. I'm just going to do this last, the bigger flowers, like so. I'm just going to show you how it looks. I just gently does it. Take these off. Gotta love a little bit of bling. Okay, right, I'm going to turn that round now just so I can get to these other ones at this angle. Oops. I'll make it. There we go. And oops. Like so. And then I just need another 2 on there. Okay, and 1 more in on the middle there. Okay, right, so there we are. So there's that corner done. Okay, and now, as I said, we just come and do the other side. I'm going to come do the bottom bit down here. How's that holding up? That's right. Oh look, we've got a little leafy in there. Okay, so I'm just going to glue and stick these down as we did on the other side. Oh, they are. Oh, I did glue them down, didn't I? When did I do that? When did I do that bit? See, look, I'm forgetting where I'm at. Right, we've got to do the little ones, and here we go. Let's do the little fiddly ones. Okay. Right, and we're just going to dip that one. I'm going to have one coming over this way. I'll have another little corally coloured one. Here we are. Let's bend those over. That one can come up there. And then we'll just tuck a few of these inside. Like so. Okay. Right, there we go. Tuck that one in there. Thank you for that comment, Cloney, as you prepped yourself. I certainly did. I think it's just nice that you can just sort of create such beautiful things out of a bit of card and some paper. And you know what? I think this would look lovely on anybody's table, you know, with a lovely photo in it. And as I said, if you've made it to fit in with the decor, maybe. I know I've certainly made some of these in the past, and I've sort of decorated it in the colours of a bedroom. You know, you could do that. Yeah, it just leaves it open to lots of wonderful ways that you can decorate it with. Okay, let's tuck that little one in down there. Actually, that one does. I need to put a little bit more glue on that. Here we go. It's hanging on for dear life on my... Oh, it's hanging on for dear life. Right, here we are. Right. Just a little dab. I'm going to tuck you in under that one because I'm going to put some leafies on in a minute. So that goes in under there, just taking it up from that top edge. That's it, that goes in there. And we'll have a couple coming up the top. 1, 2, 3. Just counting the numbers. So again, trying to do it in the odds. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we want another one. Oh, I just think these look fabulous. Right, I'll have a little rogue one up there. There you go. How many peachy ones? 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll have another little peachy one coming up. Oh, drop that one. See, this is why we have to punch out so many, because I end up losing half of them on the floor. I don't think I've quite got enough glue in on this one. Here we go. Normally I've got my little glass mat, but right, I might have that one. Just let's have the two of them together. I think that will look a little bit different, like so. And now we're just onto the leaves now, and then it's just putting the gems in, and then I think we're gonna call it a day, I think. But look what we've managed to achieve in, what, a couple of hours. I mean, obviously I'm aware that I had a lot of my stuff prepped beforehand, but it just goes to show you that in an evening you could easily make up one of these, because we started at 7. It's just coming up to 9 o'clock, or just gone 9 o'clock. And actually all of this bit I punched out, didn't I? So yeah, you could easily make one of these of an evening. So if you've forgotten to get a birthday present or a Mother's Day gift, or even a Father's Day gift, because you could decorate this you know, with colours that would suit for a man or a child's birthday or anything like that, can you? Right, let's tuck that in there. Just love it, love it, love it, love it. Right, we're going to put a little leafy out over here. Just going to have that little one just sort of just not quite sticking up there. And just dip, 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 dip that one. Tuck that one in under there. Right, and I think I might just tuck another little one in under there. And there we go. Now, if you, oh goodness me, my glue's flipped over. If you wanted, you could use, you know, different contrasting papers to go with this if you wanted. But I quite like to use the matching ones. That one's got lost its glue. Let's just dab another little bit, tuck that one back in there. There we go. So we've got a few little leafy petals going on. I think 2 more will do it. And I think tuck that one in under there. And you could, I mean, I've only just got the 1 leaf punch size for the moment, but you could obviously use different size leaves as well. That'll give it a little bit something different, wouldn't it? Right, okay, I was just going to tuck that one in under there. Right, and now we're just over to putting our gems on. Now we do have in the shop some shimmer sprays which look really lovely, that you can spritz the frame just to give it a little bit of sparkle. So do pop over and have a little look at those. This, because I've got glue on my, let's just give those a quick clean. It's because I've got glue on the end of them. These are my favourite tweezers, and I'm sorry, but they get used for everything. So so yeah, so I do tend to use them for everything. But well, crafting, I mean, I don't use them for anything else. Okay, we'll just tuck that in on there. So just these tiny little gems. So yeah, as I was saying, so the shimmer sprays, you could just spritz the frame, and then obviously you'd have to give the acetate a wipe down afterwards, but that will just give it an extra little sparkle to it if you wanted. In fact, I'm just wondering whether I did that on the other album. not album frame. Did I do that on that one? Yes. I don't know if you can see in the light there. It's got a little bit of sparkle, a little bit of gold shimmer I've put on here. But yeah, so do check out. I don't know if you can see. It's a bit hard to show you in this sort of light, but I promise you it is on there. Okay, and here we go. The last few little ones. Right, let's just move that on there. Rest that on there. Tiny little one tucked in under there. Okay. Yeah, it's just coming together. Just the last final flourishes, like so. Stick you on there. Whoops! Rogue one, rogue one. All right, get back on there. And I think we've just got 2 more of these to go. Whoops, no, that's a rogue one as well. Come on. If you find that your gems are not sticking, because sometimes, especially if you've had them for a little while, sometimes the glue can lose its bit of tackiness, and just put a little little bit of book binding glue behind it, and that will hold them in place. But I'm just, because the trouble is I'm trying not to put too much pressure on these for the minute as they're just sticking there. Right, I think they're all the little ones. Okay, and now we're just over to the big ones. And here we go. I'll try and take these off this. Okay, these have got a bit more glue to them. Like so. But like I said, you can, I mean, if you're doing flowers and things like that, you can put as much or as little detail on them as you want. But for tonight, I've just gone with very basic. Just punch them out and we're getting on with it, but you can add detail. You can add detail to your leaves and that as well if you want to. Okay, and then we'll just pop this last one on. One more to go. There we go. Whoops, there we are. And there we are. Dun 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 dun. It's like the big reveal, isn't it? Right, let's just turn this around. Look at that. How lovely is that? I know it's got the 6x8 in there in the middle. Okay, but obviously I'm going to tuck a photo in there and you're not going to see that. But there we are, and that is the photo frame done. Very simply, I've decorated that. You know, obviously we've got the flowers going on in there. I've just put the you and me. I did consider putting the other message on it, but you know what? Now that I've put the flowers on, I don't think it needs it. But you don't have to just decorate it with flowers. You can, I mean, I could have put some ribbon on there. I might have some washi tape that I might sort of want to sort of decorate it with or what have you. But you know, at the end of the day, it's your own personal choice. Thank you for that, Pippa. I'm glad that you like it. It's just such a simple design and idea. And it could probably get you out of a few tricky issues if you've forgotten a gift, you know, because how long has it taken me to do that? Couple of hours. Obviously you might take a little bit longer, but you could certainly get it done, as I said, in an evening or over a weekend. But I think, yeah, when you look at, that's the front, and then you've got the back where you've got the little frame, and that just stands up like so. What I would say is obviously, because it's made of card stock, is don't put it near anything where it could catch a light, like candles and stuff like that. So just be aware of that. Okay, I just need to mention that. Or also anywhere that it might get wet, because obviously if it gets water on it, it is going to soak it up. Okay, thank you, Cloney, for that as well. So there we are. So just to show you the difference of how you can decorate it, and this is the one that I did the other day. It's got the happy 18th birthday on it. Okay, and this one is just very simple, you and me. Okay, now if you were going to, just one more thing before we disappear that I wanted to say. If you was making this for you and you wanted to swap the photos around, obviously when you drop the photo in, it is, I'll be honest, it's going to be a little bit tricky to get it out. You're going to have to tap it out. So what I suggest is that if you put the photo in, you just add maybe a little ribbon to the back of the photo so that you can just pull that out if you wanted to change the photo. But if you're making this for a gift for somebody and you're putting a photo in it, then you don't need to worry about that. Okay, so that's the photo frame for tonight.